Welcome to the family here on Purple Mafia. I'm your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awijan. Purple Mafia is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today, as we are now diving into the annual draft review episode. Yes, sir. Another of the annual type of deals, the State of the Vikings annual, Free Agency annual, Draft Preview annual, now the Draft Review annual. As we try to get to this nice and quick and kind of, it's still fresh on everyone's minds. Minnesota Vikings making a couple moves here and there, but eventually winding up with, an interesting draft class at the very least. Potentially a great draft class, but you never know. I mean, it's always the best draft class in the history of the world. Until, you get to see them go out and play, and then maybe it still is the greatest draft class, and maybe it isn't. Most of the time, it's not necessarily. In the last several years have not been all so great, though the Vikings have brought a few gems in from the draft, like the Justin Jefferson draft in 2020, and you had Christian Jerisaw in that same draft. I mean, that is amazing stuff. You get a franchise left tackle and a franchise receiver. And then, it was good stuff. That later, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah finally picked somebody decent in Jordan Addison. And that was fun. You saw the Lewis Cine nonsense. We got to wait for the drama, and the Vikings wind up with J.J. McCarthy, which a lot of us were kind of thinking would happen. But, all that interesting drama in the 24 draft. You get Dallas Turner, Last year was, it was not that exciting. Really at all, and really, generally speaking, there were a lot of misses, as we talked about. We'll see if there's misses here or if the Vikings are headed in a better direction. Heck, we'll find out who our general manager is one of these days. I'm not sure when, or is it just going to be Rob Brzezinski? Is that the end of the story? Rob Brzezinski becomes the GM. That's $1 million question for everyone out there. And, or as they said back in the 1950s, that old TV show, the $64,000 question, which would be about $1 million nowadays. So much inflation's affected the dollar. So today, the Dow is down for 200 points. Okay, sorry. Back in the day of the Dow being down 200 points, the whole city would freak out. Nowadays, it's it's just a little bit in comparison to, the percentage and stuff. Okay, weird rabbit holes we're going down here to open up Purple Mafia. Hopefully the Minnesota Vikings stock rises after this draft. Hopefully. Because, it'd be nice to have some inexpensive, talented players on the roster, entry-level contract stuff. That'd be nice. We thought we had that with J.J. McCarthy, but I don't know. Maybe someday, maybe we will next year, depending on his emergence. Who knows what's going to happen this year. We'll also talk about the undrafted free agent list. It's a biggie. There's a lot of undrafted free agents, and it's kind of fun to keep up with some of that. And there's at least one that's very intriguing for a lot of people. Probably two, though, that were been mentioned locally. And, I'll get into those guys. With the 18th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Caleb Banks, defensive lineman, Florida. And I did hear the fans booing me as I came in because I'm pretending to be the commissioner. So, it's a tradition to boo the commissioner for whatever reason. It's like NBA, NFL, at least those two. I'm sure they do it to what's-his-face too, Gary Bettman. Baseball, I don't know if there's really enough people there watching that one. But anyhow, Caleb Banks, well, he's one of the guys I talked about. He's one of the 8 players I talked about in the last episode. Unfortunately, absolutely none of the other guys were taken, even the ones that I was kind of hoping to maybe pick up in the later rounds. Vikings did not wind up with any of those guys. We'll talk about them if I get a chance. Caleb Banks, unfortunately, again, there's a reason why he only played 3 games last year. Definitely a foot issue. So, he missed a ton of time last year, only 3 games. And then also, again, during the whole combine deal, had a broken bone in his foot again. So supposedly Mr. Caleb Banks will be healthy and ready to go by June. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. You hope that ends up being a fact, because I don't know. I think we've had enough of injury proneness around here. Guys getting hurt all the time. I mean, So that's the fear. But at the same time, I was fairly excited about at least one of the names coming here, and I did like him going into the draft. I really did. As the still semi-fresh episode is out there, where I talked about basically that Caleb Banks pressures the quarterback into hurries and also screens the quarterback's vision because of his size. He's absolutely massive, 6'6", 327, able to get to the quarterback quickly to force mistakes and misses. This is obviously as I was analyzing him. Not that I'm some genius, but this is what I saw. Plays a bit of a three technique style, but more of like the run stuffer type. He is able to get into the backfield and swallow up the run. Yep, he's able to actually like create tackles for loss, not just general like run stopper. He's a relentless disruptor in the backfield and to the quarterback. Great size and mobility would more than fill the gap left by Harrison Phillips. Yes, and I think if healthy and pans out and all that stuff, this would be a spectacular draft pick. Some people see him as a potential top 10 talent in this draft. A potential spectacular pick, but of course, again, the injuries. Adrian Peterson slipped in the draft years ago to number 7. A lot of people saw him as a top 3 pick in that draft back in 2007. I can't believe it's been that long. As Doc Brown would say, my God, has it been that long? Yes, it's been a while, almost 20 years already since Adrian Peterson was picked by the Vikings. That was 19 years ago. That's crazy, and I still remember being outside. Back then, I even had internet on the phone, and I was keeping up with the draft. Because back then, I think it was all still Saturday. Yes, we were doing lawn cleanups. It was a fairly chilly day like right now, kind of semi-chilly, not, April day out doing lawn cleanups, and I was like, oh my God, is he going to slip all the way to 7? Because I wanted the Vikings to take Adrian Peterson. But there was talk, he has this shoulder issue and so on and so forth. But as long as he's okay, hell yeah, this is going to be amazing. And you never really heard about the shoulder again the rest of Adrian Peterson's career. But he ended up fumbling 500,000 times and cost us the NFC Championship game in 2009. Oh yeah, he was the root of the problem in that game. No doubt. Caleb Banks, though, again, would be a wonderful addition if he stays healthy. If this whole foot thing doesn't become a chronic issue and just kind of keeps going on and on. A lot of people fear, because of his size, that it could end up being a chronic thing that'll just go on forever. And this could be a disastrous pick if he's basically like never available. Well, you hope that is not the case, because it could be a great one. Supposedly the Kansas City Chiefs, the team I despise, but is also a very good team, has a defensive lineman named Chris Jones who's insanely good and gave us hell the times we played him and gave other people hell as well. When they were trying to make big plays late in games, and Chris Jones would stop them. He was a great player. They saw him, basically, they see Caleb Banks as the next Chris Jones, supposedly. The Kansas City Chiefs saw him as that and could have been they were trying to possibly move up and get him. At the end of the day, though, the Minnesota Vikings went up with Caleb Banks, and go us. So, I don't know. Supposedly people in the organization with Kansas City liked him, but the Vikings apparently as well had made up their mind. This is who we're taking. Is Brian Flores the new head coach of the team? I have no idea. Or the GM or something, or is all these weird rumors about the former Steelers coach being our future GM? I have no idea. Of course, that'd be Mike Tomlin. It's like my mind's almost stopping here. I'm like, wait, oh yeah, it's Mike Tomlin. Duh. But yes, and of course, Flores came from Pittsburgh. He was working with Mike Tomlin when he was going through all that weird lawsuit stuff after leaving Miami. So, weird stuff. Yes, Caleb Banks did only play 3 games last year. He did record a single tackle for loss. But there's certainly a talent there. You saw a lot in his other senior year, 2024. It's kind of confusing how that goes together. Seven tackles for loss that year, 4.5 sacks, but really did a lot of stuff that doesn't always show up in the stat sheet except for the Pro Football Talk. That's what I was talking about in the last episode. That, it's more of a Pro Football Talk kind of a guy who could be a huge help to this team going forward. But Caleb Banks, if he pans out, this could be a great pick. If he doesn't, well, here we go again, Well, there you go again. ESPN was seeing about, they're talking about the timetable. This is from O'Connell. As we work towards the end of the off-season program into the summer, our hope is that we'll be able to prepare him for the regular season and training camp and have him for that. O'Connell. So thank you, Kevin, for that deal. But yes, he can definitely fill a hole. Yes. I don't think he's a pick for depth. I think there's a lot more there going on with Caleb Banks. I don't think you take him 18th overall to be a depth pick necessarily. This team did not win 16 games last year or 14 games or anything like that. I think this is a player that will be a massive upgrade to that defensive line if and when healthy. Please do be that. Minnesota Vikings go defensive again. In the second round, the number 51 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings take, well, there was a, okay, before I get to who they took, Emmanuel McNeil Warren slipped out of the first round. Emmanuel McNeil Warren slipped out of the first round. Yeah, you realize that? And how excited I was about that. He slipped out of the first round, and he kept coming down, and I'm like, oh my God! If I was like, I was saying how the Vikings should try their best to trade up and get him, and then it's like I was tweeting that out, and then it's like, oh my God, just a couple more picks to go. Okay, he's still there, and it's our pick, 49th overall, and the Vikings trade down. You got to be kidding. Well, at least we got another 5th round pick out of it. It was just 2 spots. Okay, so he'll probably still be there. And there he is. And the Vikings do not take Emmanuel McNeil Warren, much to my chagrin. Yes, he did slip out of the first round. Other notables real quick before I continue. Really was impressed with Jordan Tyson. And man, he went 8th overall. So the guy I really liked also, Caleb Downs, who could have gone as high as to the Saints, wound up going 11th to the Dallas Cowboys. 11th to the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not real happy about Caleb Downs going there, but that's where he went. Another notable, Jeremiah Love going 3rd overall. So that's why I didn't talk about Jeremiah Love in the preview, because it's like, I don't know. His stock just kept going up, just like Drake May going 3rd overall to the Saints years ago. He Jeremiah Love going 3rd overall to the Arizona Cardinals, who also took Beck. It's a Carson Beck from Miami. A lot of people kind of laughing at that pick, like, okay, he's a backup basically in the NFL. I don't know. They're kind of reaching there. Who knows? But they got Jeremiah Love nonetheless. Dylan Thieneman. Yes, the Vikings passed on Dylan Thieneman. I didn't talk about that either. He was there. He was available, just like Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Dylan Thieneman, see, the one thing that may be annoying and scary to a lot of people, guess where he went? Yep, to a division rival, the Chicago Bears. Dylan Thieneman went to the Bears. So, well, if Caleb Banks ends up being disappointing and Thieneman ends up being like a future Hall of Famer or something, we'll be reminded about it at least twice a season, if not several times beyond that as well. So, at least twice a season we'll be reminded about it, but I'm sure more often than that, just from fans talking trash or whatever. Sounds like fun, but it sounds like the way things go. But Emmanuel McNeil Warren, again, slid. Denzel Boston, I know a lot of fans and local media wanted Denzel Boston possibly on the Vikings. He went 7th in the second round, 39th overall to Vince Germano's team. Vince Germano's club has a chance to be pretty good, I think, this upcoming season. I thought they were going to take Caleb Downs, honestly. But Vince Germano's club is the Cleveland Browns. Just in case you're wondering, they got Spencer Fano as well, offensive tackle, so that can help the quarterback position. Casey Concepcion, the receiver. So I think Cleveland had a really good draft. Supposedly last year, last year they had a really good draft too. So Cleveland could be on the up and up. Denzel Boston, talented guy. They eventually got Emmanuel McNeil Warren too. 26th in the second round, which is 58th overall. See, he just kept sliding even after the Vikings passed on him. Should have been a first-round guy. A lot of people wondering what the heck happened and why he would slide that far. Not sure. Other cute little story is that Avian Terrell will join his brother with the Atlanta Falcons. So, congratulations to them. Lee Hunter was also in there in my little conversation. He slipped all the way to 49 as well. So, he was even being mocked to the Vikings at 18th on some of those mock drafts. Just like Emmanuel McNeil Warren. So, both of those guys slipped quite a bit. EMW slipped all the way to 58th overall. Okay, 51st overall. Had to get into those side stories. I apologize if that seemed like a little bit of a babble fest. But, hey, it's part of the storyline here. With the 19th pick in the second round, 51st overall, in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Jake Gauldey out of Cincinnati, linebacker. All right, well, Jake Gauldey, it is, gall dang it. And holy cow, he's quite an athlete. He is fun to watch. At first I was like, no, we passed an Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, you idiots. Well, okay, maybe they're not idiots. And the good news is Jake Gauldey is actually pretty darn young, too. At least I think he is. 24 and 25. Those are the only 2 years he played in college football. In 24, he had a sack and a half, 7 tackles for loss. These are in 12 college games. 58 combined tackles, 38 were solo. In 2025, 12 games, 39 solo tackles, and 105 combined. 6 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. Pass deflections, he had 2 last year and 3 this year. He's quick enough to go into coverage, to drop into coverage, but you hope not too many times. Forced fumbles, 2 last year, 2 years ago, in 24. 1 last year. No interceptions, surprising. I thought he had some, though. I thought I saw some highlights where he was getting interceptions. But this guy's all over the place. It's pretty amazing. 6'4", 239. This guy's going to be good, from what we can tell. He's definitely a starter in the NFL. Oh, yes. You can definitely get a starting linebacker in the second round, and I think the Vikings did here. Jake Gauldey wearing number 11 in college. His football has just gone all over the place now with the numbers. We've talked about this before, where you'll have, superstar defensive edge rushers or something, and they'll be wearing number 1 or something, or number 9. It's like, what the hell? So it's weird. Like number 11, you think of Wade Wilson. You think of you think of Andre Ware or something, years ago. You think of whoever. There have been a lot of number 11s over the years in the NFL. You think of Drew Bledsoe. Well, it's Jake Gauldey for the Vikings. So, all right. And the Cincinnati Bearcats, not the Bengals. So, yeah, Jake Gauldey, extremely athletic, all over the place, long arms, lanky guy. This could be a spectacular pick. As frustrated as I was with the passing on Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, who also is a lanky guy with long arms, it could be a ball hawk. I thought he had star potential in this league, and he still might. We might be talking about Emmanuel McNeil-Warren really turning that Cleveland Browns defense into one of the best in the league. And the Browns have had good defenses over the years. Obviously, they have that Myles Garrett. He's been spectacular there. So over the years, so yeah, if not getting himself in trouble by going a little over the top, getting pissed off at people, kind of losing his temper, kind of like a certain small forward on the Minnesota Timberwolves, or kind of committing some unwritten rule crimes basically against the Denver Nuggets this past weekend. But we'll digress from that. We'll keep that for Timberwolves Explosion. Yeah, I'm a little bit more on the respect the game category than the, show those SOBs. I don't like the Nuggets at all, but don't do that. It's not worth it. Anyhow, there we go. I let the cat out of the bag there. Sometimes it's not worth it to it's just not. Anyhow, Jake Gauldey, who I don't think is the type to do that kind of crazy stuff, at least I hope not. Could end up being a spectacular Gauldey, actually. It's Gauldey, like Adrian Allday Peterson. Yeah, it's Gauldey. That's why they're calling him Allday. So he might end up being a wonderful pick here. Somebody that slipped. Could be another E.J. Henderson or something. I remember how great he was. How he was a second-round pick. Way back in 2003 or 4. I forget what year it was. Might have been 04. And you look at his numbers in college. I still remember because I was one of those people that had the internet on my cell phone, the little flip phone, in the old days when having the internet on your phone was a pretty novel thing, and it was very inexpensive as well. You didn't have data plans or anything back then. You just had the internet and you relied on just the speed of what you had with that less than 3G coverage. It was like 2G or whatever the hell it was called before 3G. I have no idea what it's called. I just knew it as cellular connection, whatever. That's all I knew it as back then. Whether it was 1G or 2G or God knows what, I actually was able to keep up with the draft. I was outside, just kind of curious, and I looked at, the second round pick in this linebacker named E.J. Henderson. And it's like, look at the tackling numbers. Holy crap, look at his stats. Because it was just text basically back in those days, 22 years ago or so. And maybe this is another E.J. Henderson in terms of not necessarily stats that jump out at you, but then you watch what he can do, and it's like, damn, he's good. He's going to be really good, and a lot of people really like this pick. So, yes, Jake Galday. Well, all day for Jake Galday coming to Minnesota. Again, 6'4" linebacker, too. That's a lot of length. A lot of lankiness, could probably deflect some passes as well and frustrate the quarterback into mistakes, and why the hell not? Let's go for it. Go Jake. Go Jakey Jake. Welcome to the Minnesota Vikings, Jake Galday. We're happy to have you. What do you think of that? Okay, well, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, Johan, bugger, as they say in Australia. That's a bugger. Carson back going number 1 in the third round, 65th overall to the Arizona Cardinals. Some people are like, the flip are they doing? I don't know. It's the Cardinals, so we'll see. Any other notables before I get to the next Viking pick? Just kind of digging. Obviously, there's notables. The Vikings end up passing on a guy that a lot of people liked as well, Ted Hurst. This is a name that a lot of people were excited about, possibly the Vikings of their next pick, which was 18th in the third round, 82nd overall. Ted Hurst. Ended up going to the Tampa Bay Bucks just 2 picks later. So a little bit of a bummer there. That would have been a nice wide receiver possibly. He'll be receiving passes from the Bucks quarterback by the guy by the name of Baker Mayfield, as long as he stays healthy and such. Minnesota Vikings go back to defensive tackle again out of Iowa State. They call him the Big Citrus, Dominique Orange, Dominique, but it's spelled kind of different. Not like Dominique Wilkins, it's Dominique Orange, the Big Citrus, coming to Minnesota, the Big Citrus out of Iowa State. Well, Dominique Orange coming to the Minnesota Vikings instead of Ted Hurst, but another defensive lineman. Like I said 16 times, I apologize. This one, knock on wood, played in. He played. He wasn't out like almost 3/4 of the season last year like the other defensive linemen. He did play 4 years for Iowa State. Did not hit the transfer portal or anything like that. Another guy to kind of stuff the middle a bit. Obviously, he's a big son of a gun, a big mamma jamma, as they might say in the business. That's why they call him the Big Citrus. A little bit shorter than the other guy, not quite 6'6" or anything, but 6'2", 322 pounds, so another beast. Pre-draft analysis, they were saying Orange lined up primarily at nose tackle. Yep, so he's more of the nose tackle type of guy during his 4 seasons at Iowa State. He sometimes flashes a quick first step to shoot gaps, so that helps. But that's not his strong suit. Orange is at best when he can get in one-on-one situations and fill gaps versus the run. Again, this is pre-draft analysis. He has very good play strength, and he can hold his ground at the point of attack. Orange could also work on staying vertical in his late rushes. He struggles to rush at an angle, getting washed out of play. So, well, that's why he slipped into the third round and hope to get those techniques developed over the course of time. He's ranked 7th for his position and overall 78th, and he wound up going 82nd. So, okay, all right. So, yeah, it's like 4 positions different, basically. That's kind of funny. Post-draft analysis, the Vikings landed Big Citrus. Orange is Minnesota's second defensive tackle in the draft. Yeah, and again, he's not an edge. He's a DT. So we're talking inside. We're powering up the inside because, well, quite frankly, everybody around us will tell you we sucked inside defensively. Sucked. And on the offensive side as well. I think the guards and center situation hasn't been all that great, though Blake Brandel may end up being the full-time center here going forward, unless a certain 6th-round pick ends up, or is it a 7th-round pick, ends up making us more excited than we think. Big Citrus. They say he is, but more of a pure nose tackle, unlike Caleb Banks, who's probably more of he gets into the backfield more. So Orange will be more or less a running downs player. Yep, will eat up double teams and take up space against the ground game. Yep. So he's kind of like a goalie, kind of, I guess, against the run. If that makes sense. He's literally a run stuffer. He's the Pat Williams kind of guy, whereas Caleb Banks could be a little bit more of a 3-technique type of guy. Maybe more like a Tevin Williams type, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he can stay healthy. He was basically saying he's just going to run people over in his draft press conference type of thing, where he was being introduced here. So, introductory press conference is a better way to put it. So, really appreciate what Mr. Caleb Banks can bring, and hopefully Dominic Orange, cool name, the big citrus. You got to like that. So you got a famous nickname. Should we look at the pre-draft analysis a little bit? Oh, let's look at the post-draft with Gaulday. Gaulday was a defensive end. That's right. Yeah, when he started his career at FCS, yeah, because he's got the height and the length, so he sounds more like an edge, really, when you think about that. He was at Central Arkansas as a 0-star recruit. Think about that. So he basically rose up. He worked his way into becoming an all-conference linebacker at Power 4 level with fantastic run and chase speed. Yeah, he's extremely quick, extremely athletic, and the instincts to rack up the 105 tackles. Vikings have a need in the middle of their defense, and defensive coordinator Brian Flores has certainly signed off on this pick. Gaulday running alleys with Caleb Banks drawing double teams is an ideal setup, but can't help but wonder why Minnesota's ignoring its critical need at safety. Yeah. So Matt Miller might be thinking the same thing I was. You passed on Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Damn it. Yes, we did. Well, eventually we did take a safety, but, man, I would have liked Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. So he's probably as frustrated as I was at the time, where it's like, you had him, though. I mean, you just had a first-round safety slip to you, and you passed on him. Bloody hell. Bloody hell, mate. So we'll continue here. Fourth round, the Vikings did not have a fourth-round pick. Jermon McCoy was once upon a time thought as a first-round pick. He was ranked 21st in some rankings, and in this one, 16th. He was ranked 16th. He was ranked the number 2 cornerback coming out of college, but out of Tennessee, Jermon McCoy. But also, another injury type of thing. Yeah, he tore his ACL on January 25, but yeah, so there's that. Like, he's an injured guy, but extremely talented coming out of Tennessee. Wound up going number 1 in the 4th round, 101st overall. Pretty wild stuff. And again, like I said, no 4th-round pick for the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think another quarterback was taken. I'm trying to look around. Yeah, and there's 1 or 2 guys here where I was like, oh, no, I would have liked to have him. There he is, Cage Casey going to the frickin' Broncos. Man, the Broncos always have good linemen, don't they? They always have good offensive tackles or guards or whatever. Remember Gary Zimmerman many years ago? He left the Vikings and went to the frickin' Broncos and won a couple Super Bowls and then retired. Son of a biscuit. He was a great offensive lineman, and we lost him. We lost Gary Zimmerman to the Broncos, and he won Super Bowls there. The team where they were losing a lot of Super Bowls before that. Cage Casey to the Bronx, 11th in the 4th round, 111th overall. The third quarterback taken. I'm just being silly. Out of Clemson, going to the New York Jets. Cade Klubnik rolls right off your tongue. Cade Klubnik. Doesn't that just roll right off your tongue? Yeah. Sounds like a superstar quarterback. Cade Klubnik. How about Ephesians Prysock, cornerback going to the San Francisco 49ers, 139th overall, coming out of Washington. Ephesians Prysock. Well, what happened to Colossians? You got to get Colossians, too. And I'm sure there's plenty of Judes out there. And let's see. Ephesians. Yep, yeah, you got Ephesians right there. I'm trying to think of another one. Well, you're not going to... Well, there's Roman, not Romans. There's names called Roman. That's a very common name. Oh, man, my brain's going crazy. I'm being goofy here, but I can't help myself sometimes. How about Acts? What did they call somebody Acts? Acts. Axe Johnson has just been drafted by the New Orleans Saints. Oh, when the Axe comes marching in. Okay, sorry, I'll stop. 5th round. I'm just losing my mind here. Kamari Ramsey, he was the top pick in the 5th round, just in case you're wondering. Minnesota Vikings wound up with a tight end, who's also known as a fullback, called Max Bredson. He's going to be the breadwinner for, his family, I'm sure, because he's in the National Football League. Out of Michigan. What do you think of that? Go Wolverines, right? 19th pick in the 5th round, 159th overall. The Minnesota Vikings select Max Bredson, who is a fullback, tight end, kind of a Jimmy Kleinsasser or whatever the heck. He's ranked 26th for his position and 281st overall. They're saying it's kind of a reach, but he's a hell of a blocker. Like, I mean, we're talking a great blocker. 6'2", 252nd. He's a great blocker. That's all the conversation has been. That's what the conversation was when the Vikings took Jimmy Kleinsasser. But then we tried to get cute using him on the offense, and he fumbled and was an annoying player to watch at times. But then when he became more of the fullback type of a role, Jimmy Kleinsasser was the kind of guy, it's like, man, if he was out, it was like, oh no. You could just feel the frustration and how bad it was. These kind of guys, these are glue players right here. Guys like Max Bredsman, C.J. Ham, Jimmy Kleinsasser, guys like that, they are glue guys. They're glue guys. That their blocking is just crucial for your team. So nice to see the Vikings go in this direction. In a sense, a lot of people think it was kind of dumb to take him 5th overall, or fifth round. Could have maybe slid a little further into the 6th or something. But well, we took him and we got him. The conversation. Where is it? Pre-draft analysis. Yeah, they're saying Bredson was used as an H-back tight end at Michigan, but his lack of length, because he's a little shorter, could lead him to being a fullback in the NFL. Yep, more of a fullback than a tight end. Yes. He's a natural lead blocker. Yep, that's a big thing. Doing a good job of cleaning up running lanes. Once latched onto defenders, Bredson does a good job sustaining blocks. Yep, he plays with energy and a motor. I love that. A motor, well, means they don't stop, right? To finish his blocks. Bredson was not primarily used as a receiver. 12 career receptions. Yep, again, I mean, no, he's not. But he showed good ball skills in that limited action. Sounds good. And that's Scouts Inc. there jumping in with that one. Yeah. Max Bredson, well, it'll help us with the blocking. There's no doubt about that. So welcome to Minnesota, Max Bredson. 2 picks later, dadgummit. Maybe the Vikings could have taken a running back at 23rd, 163rd overall, which would have been 4 picks after Max Bredson. Or maybe the Vikings could have taken the guy I would have liked, Emmett Johnson. That would have been very exciting. Emmett Johnson coming to the Minnesota Vikings possibly. And it just wasn't meant to be. Bugger. Just wasn't meant to be. Emmett Johnson goes to he went to the Chiefs. Yeah, I'm not happy. Why? Why the Chiefs? Not the Chiefs. You should have. I mean, there was silence. I think I was at work and I just kind of checked and I said, all of a sudden, it's just pure silence. Nobody, everybody's doing their own thing, whatever. Well, it was silent around me. Of course, nobody could hear me because they're all locked into whatever they're doing or having conversations with someone else or something. And all of a sudden, it's just like no, not the Chiefs. Yeah, not the Chiefs. No. Dang it. Why does it have to be the Chiefs? Why? Why can't it be anybody else? Why couldn't it be the Jets? Why couldn't it be the Jaguars? Why couldn't it be anything? The freaking Steelers even. I don't even like the Steelers that much, but not the Chiefs. Please, not the Chiefs. Ugh. Well, that's where he went. Okay, well, 23rd overall, the Minnesota Vikings. Well, 23rd overall in the fifth round, 163rd overall. The Vikings finally draft a cornerback, Charles Demings. Charles Demings coming to the Minnesota Vikings. You excited? Well, I think I'm okay. Yep, we'll take him, right? Or not? Oh, isn't that frustrating? Yeah, it sure is. What did I do wrong, damn it? I did something wrong, and I'm not sure what it is. So, before we get to the analysis, let's look at some statistics with this young man. 4 interceptions this past year, so we appreciate that. Charles Demings coming out of, this is a different one. That would be, sorry, I'm losing my mind here. Stephen F. Austin. It's somewhere in Texas. Stephen F. Austin. Apparently he's the 17th ranked cornerback. Overall 141 and 60 grade, whatever that means. But, Stephen F. Austin, Texas. 18 total tackles. He did have 5 pass breakups along the way, so we appreciate that. A couple of them against McNeese. Ever heard of that one? Ever heard of McNeese? I'm waiting on that one too. Albine Christian, I think we've heard of that one. So definitely not high end in the school, but the guy is a supreme athlete. There's no doubt about it. Not a high end school though. Demings tested well. This is according to Scouts Inc. Demings tested well at the combine, posting a 4.41 second 40-yard dash. That is pretty fast. 42-inch vertical jump and 11-foot broad jump. Holy cow. He is not afraid to be physical at the line of scrimmage, while he displays smooth feet and fluid hips to flip and run. When playing off coverage, he can run into problems if he takes extra gathered steps before driving on his brakes. That sounds a little scary, but then again, it's a 5th-round pick. So definitely got to develop some of his techniques or whatever, or he's just not a starter. However, he is strong at the peak, contesting catches. Yep, I mean, he had the 5-pass breakup, so we appreciate that. Demings did not play a major role in run support in college and will have to make a big jump in level of competition, but he possesses redeemable athletic traits to make him or to help him make that transition. 6'1", 193. So he's not one of those tiny guys where people just catch the ball over him just by reaching up. I can remember Herman Moore, like 6'5", he would just like reach up and catch, and if you have a tiny little cornerback on him, you're pretty much dead. But yeah, so that's it's an interesting one. It's kind of a reach, but we'll see. Maybe not a huge reach, but kind of feels like a reach. Not trying to be mean or rude or anything. Just telling it like it is or was or whatever, as we might want to say in the business. I hope I'm not missing somebody. I feel like I am. Oh, I'm missing a lot of people. I was moving too fast. Oh, jeez. I feel like a jerk. Yep, when I got to Max Bresnan, I missed 2 of them in the 3rd round. I was moving too fast. I'm sorry. That is terrible. With the 97th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, 3rd round, the Minnesota Vikings select Caleb Tiernan he's an offensive tackle out of Northwestern. So, okay. Good to know to have Caleb Tiernan. I'm looking at somebody else. Yeah, because I was wondering, I'm like, where's the safety? Yeah, he was way before Charles Deming. I knew that much. So I apologize for moving a little too fast here. That's what I get. So that is my bad. Why am I not seeing him? Yeah, I got distracted with the Dominic Orange thing. Yeah, there we go. The back-to-back picks late in the 3rd round. That's what threw me off. Caleb Tiernan. He was ranked 9th at his position of offensive tackle. He's a 6'8" offensive tackle. 6'8". What do you think of that, huh? 323rd. He's ranked 84th overall, and he went 97th. So, okay, maybe the Vikings come in a little ahead there. We shall see. Post-draft analysis per ESPN's draft day tracker predictor. They believe his median draft selection at slot 9 was going to be 67. So at 97, the Vikings may have stopped the slide. Minnesota is set at starting tackle between Christian Jurisaw and Brian O'Neill. So Tiernan figures to start as a backup. And of course, the free agent the Vikings signed a few weeks ago as well. At minimum, he's depth, and who knows, maybe if he ends up becoming more of a starter type of guy, he can take over for Brian O'Neill, who's getting a little older and seems to be hurt all the time, which is disappointing. And remember how we talked about the Vikings passing on the safety and all that. Well, if we eventually took one, and, well, at least locally, the conversation is a lot of people think this guy could be the steal of the draft. I don't mean the lineman, but the safety, Jacoby Thomas out of Miami, who went to the national championship. He's supposedly the 13th ranked safety, I guess. 142nd overall, so that could be, man. So some people might think the Vikings are reaching, yet other people think this could be the steal of the draft for the Vikings, like, holy cow. Well, yep. They're saying how they've been talking about the Vikings need to address that safety, and they finally did. The Fiesta Bowl MVP is an attacking defender who excels on special teams, so that'll help. Yeah, we could use his help on special teams, I'm sure. So much has been said about Minnesota needing to find long-term replacement for Harrison Smith, though a player selected 98th really shouldn't have those expectations. Yeah, because, well, yep, we'll see if he develops. Thomas will factor into the team's plans as it figures out what the safety position looks like in 2027 and beyond. So that's according to Matt Miller. Scouts Inc. also was saying that Thomas is a very physical box safety. So, yep. people see him as he really could be something. Obviously, ended up kind of developing later in his career, kind of a late bloomer, as they say. Kind of moved around a bit, unfortunately. Middle Tennessee. Yeah, I mean, he was a factor with Middle Tennessee, but he got noticed more with like Maine. Yeah, then he went to Maine, Tennessee, and then ultimately Miami. So kind of moved around a bit. Like the first year was like a redshirt year, just one game and did nothing, basically. And then the next year with Middle Tennessee, 37 combined tackles, a pick six was in there with 4 interceptions. So a bit of a ball hawk for sure. At least that year, he had a pick six, 91-yard return. He had a forced fumble as well. 3 pass deflections, 5 pass deflections in 2023. That was the second year with Middle Tennessee, or third year actually, but second year officially. 5 pass deflections, but no INTs there. And then with Tennessee, the Maine Tennessee, kind of became more of a backup there, unfortunately. He had a sack, though, and 2 pass deflections. But yeah, became a backup there. And then Miami went to the national championship game, played a ton of snaps, 76 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, so a little bit of safety blitz there. That's a huge combination or conversation out there with his physical abilities, and not afraid to knock people. Or yeah, he's more than capable of knocking people around pretty good. 5 interceptions. One of them was a pick six along the way. 6 pass deflections. And again, this is with Miami. 2 forced fumbles. This is with Miami, Florida, a team that went all the way to the national championship game. This is not, some random school in Texas or whoever, Maryland or something. Who knows? This is Miami, and he played that well. So a late bloomer, but looks awesome at the moment. So it might end up being a really nice pick for the Vikings. It feels like a reach in some ways, but we'll have to wait and see. Probably not going to start right away. Probably not, unless he has to. Or if he just blows everyone away, too. There's always that small possibility that he might. Apologize for the delay. You're moving on to the 6th round if we can. Vikings finally take a running back. It is Desmond Claiborne out of Wake Forest. Desmond Claiborne out of Wake Forest. That could be an interesting one. A lot of people see him as a much better one than McBride. McBride looked more of a disappointment, to say the least. There he is. Apologize. Wake Forest. So, well, putting up some numbers over the course of time. Didn't put spectacular numbers up last year. Like, the numbers don't really jump out at you like, holy cow, necessarily. But he's got incredible speed. He's like if he gets a step on you, pretty much he's gone, that kind of thing. Played 4 years at Wake Forest. First year, not a whole lot of anything, 57 yards. Second year, 586. Third year, he became more of a full-time guy, like double the snaps as the previous couple years there. The second year is when he was kind of like a second running back, basically, for Wake Forest in the ACC. 2024, 1,049 yards, 11 touchdowns at 4.6 a carry. That doesn't jump out at me like, holy crap. But then again, it's a 6th-round pick here, guys and gals and guys. 23 catches, 254 yards, and got in the end zone twice with receptions for 13 total touchdowns, pardon me. Last year, actually, the snaps were down, but still got in the end zone 10 times. The yards per attempt moved up to 5.1, so that's pretty good. Caught 28 passes, but only 5 yards per catch, kind of short yardage situations. Okay, so there's that. But a lot of people see this guy as more of somebody that could stick with the franchise, stick with the team, and be like an actual player here in the NFL, compared to what we had with McBride, who barely, saw the light of day, pretty much. And they saw him as a guy who fumbled a lot as well anyway. So, and had no real receiving game. He was just a regular rusher, kind of like a one-trick pony, like a certain number 28 years ago. As great as he was a one-trick pony. That'd be Adrian Peterson. Desmond Claiborne, 5'10", 188 out of Wake Forest. Not the largest guy in the world. So there's that as well. But he's a running back coming to Minnesota. We'll see. A 23-game starter in college. Claiborne earned second-team All-ACC honors in 2025. He has a compactly built frame. What am I talking about? Compactly built frame and is explosive in short areas. Yep, so he can just kind of burst. Claiborne also has a breakaway 4.37 speed. Yeah, if he gets basically, if he's able to go into that third gear, it's game over. That's why he was able to get double-digit touchdowns. So pretty cool. He can locate running lanes with good vision, then plan and accelerate through the hole between the tackles. Claiborne has shown the ability to jump cut and quickly re-accelerate, beating defenders to the edge before turning upfield. He flashes decent contact balance and can make defenders miss in the open field. Overall, Claiborne has the traits to function well at the next level and bring some special teams value. Yep, as a return man. Yeah, I can imagine. So he had 2 career kickoff touchdowns. So you're getting 2 guys that can help out on special teams. Of course, that safety that we talked about, he's got that breakaway speed. And the running back here as well. So he kind of sounds like he could for sure be a replacement for Chandler, for Ty Chandler before. Excuse me. I think there's more of a complete player here than Ty Chandler. So, but in a lot of ways, that's what he is. This guy's at the bare minimum replacing Ty Chandler. Got the breakaway speed and such. Can be on the special teams just like Ty Chandler was. Can be that second or third running back, especially with the health of Aaron Jones. And who knows? Maybe he overachieves and becomes a legitimate starter in the league. I wouldn't hold my breath necessarily, but he's going to at least have a role in the league. He's not going to be like McBride, who was basically like practice squadish at best. You know, like, okay, and then, it's like practice squad the first year and then just pretty much cut outright the next year. And it's like, okay, well, we tried, that kind of thing. We tried, and it just didn't happen. Was it Dwayne McBride? Definitely talented, but just, I don't know, didn't have the overall skill level to make it in the NFL, at least not with the Vikings. Claiborne, I think, sounds like an NFL player, at least from what I've seen briefly. Demond, it's not Desmond, it's Demond Claiborne. Have I been calling him Desmond? Demond Claiborne, I apologize. Apparently he's the 6th ranked running back, which is crazy. And he slipped all the way to the 6th round, but I don't know. This draft is kind of what it is. A little bit of meat and potatoes, a lot of offensive and defensive line. That meat potatoes kind of draft. It doesn't have you all jumping out like, oh my God, look at all this super talent. But then again, when you have drafts with like 6 or 7 quarterbacks, oh my God, there's always like, I swear, if there's 6 or 7 quarterbacks everybody's drooling about, probably 4 of them are going to be like backups at best, if not outright busts. I mean, you've had number 1 picks being outright busts. Like, oh my God, there he is, number 1 pick in the whole draft, and it's a complete bust. You could name a bunch of them. I mean, Tim Couch was supposed to be the next big thing. Tim Couch did nothing in the NFL. Nothing. Jamarcus Russell was even worse, arguably. And I remember being really excited about Tim Couch. And it was depressing to see him fail as badly as he did. It's like, seriously? Sorry for slapping my thigh here 10,000 times per show, but I don't know. It is what it is. Got to slap something. At least I'm not getting slapped. Isn't that funny? No. Oh boy, it's crazy stuff. So 7th round, Minnesota Vikings getting some guys here in the 7th round, or at least guy. Yeah, we talked about Charles Demings. That's like a guy coming out of a tiny school, like hardly anybody's heard of him, but we'll see. We'll see how things go on. You also brought in James Pierre, remember, in the offseason, so we'll see. Wide open competition for him. That's what they're saying on here, back and forth. And then the Mr. Irrelevant for the Minnesota Vikings. Yes, we did a trade. That's where the 6th round pick came from, because we didn't even have a 6th rounder. Vikings traded up to get the running back Demond Claiborne. And we're stuck with the 235th overall pick, 7th round. Gavin Gerhardt. Any relation to Toby Gerhardt? I have no idea. Who knows? But he's a center out of Cincinnati. So our second Cincinnati guy, just like the linebacker now, Gavin Gerhardt, coming to the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings addressed a need, basically, here. With the final pick of the draft, the retirement of Ryan Kelly. I mean, at bare minimum, Gavin Gerhardt is a depth pick. At bare minimum, and hope for the best type of thing. It might end up being something. I mean, the Vikings took multiple starting centers in the 6th round in the past. So I guess 7th round is possible as well. Looks like Blake Brandel and Michael Juergens are kind of the main guys for the position at the moment. A lot of people do believe Blake Brandel will be the starting center for the Minnesota Vikings because he did well. He did well there. Like, there was really no complaint about Blake Brandel moving in. I mean, Matt Burke was a guard. Don't forget. And, there was Matt Burke, and then there was Sullivan. Remember Sullivan years later? He was basically the replacement for Matt Burke. He was just a sixth-round pick at the center position. Sixth-round pick, and I guess he's the starter. I think it was the year before, 2008. We took Sullivan. That was back when I started doing Purple Mafia. It was 2008. I still remember we drafted him and guys like Troy Guyan. I think Guyan was a fifth-round pick, and I was excited for him because he was like, oh my God, I can't believe I got drafted. This is so... like he was getting goosebumps. It was LaTroy Guyan. They're talking about Sullivan. And then it's like, well, I guess he's the starter because Matt Burke left for the Baltimore Ravens and won a Super Bowl 3 years later. But we'll leave that where that is. But Matt Burke, as good of a center as he came in the league as a guard. And it's like he just held his own. And then when Jeff Christie left he left as a free agent, getting a little older and very expensive. And it's like, okay, Matt Burke is the center, and it worked out extremely well. And that's hopefully what's going on with Blake Brandel here, where he's kind of holding his own. I don't know if he's going to be Matt Burke good, but maybe he is. Michael Juergens is also a name, but it's about Blake Brandel right now. Brandel remains the favorite for the job, at least heading into the start of the season, the off-season workouts. But Gavin Gerhardt, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Not somebody you really look at stats, except maybe pro football stuff, but this ain't pro football yet. Gavin Gerhardt coming to Minnesota. What's the size on this son of a gun? I don't even have it set up correctly here. I apologize. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind here. Yeah, he's got to be further up there. My apologies. So the size on Gavin Gerhardt. Well, they're not even saying it. Another thing is they're saying Gerhardt has great frame and mobility for the center position. He does a good job latching onto defenders, but he could improve with sustaining blocks for longer. Okay. When run blocking, Gerhardt does a good job walling options occur running lanes. He has good timing to his punch, though he needs to improve his hand strength as he develops at the next level. So, okay, well, hopefully that's something that can happen. Develop that hand strength, and, that's what off seasons are for, building up that strength, and there should be plenty of time. Probably won't be starting, and he could keep building up that hand strength over the course of the next few years. As who knows, maybe he is going to be a starting center, and maybe he might be a whole lot of nothing, or at least a depth guy who can help out. Vikings have definitely struggled there. They've struggled over the years. They're just showing his height at 6'4". I've been dying here to find some weight, some size, but they're saying he's 6'4". Okay, so there it is, 318. So decent size. 6'4" is decent size for a center. He's taller than what we had before. So he's taller than Garrett, who we had before. So yeah, Garrett Bradbury. So definitely taller than him. So there's that little bit of extra height. I feel like Garrett Bradbury was kind of a small center who often got forklifted, and fans were frustrated with that nonsense. 6'4", 318. So hopefully we'll see what happens. You don't have to use a first-round pick for him either. So that's the good part. We used a 7th-round pick for this one. So I know Gerhardt the other guy, not Gerhardt, but Garrett Bradbury was pretty highly touted. But maybe Gerhardt works out nicely. Why are they showing him with a Bengals jersey? Were they hoping he would wind up there? Well, it's Cincinnati Bearcats. It's kind of goofy. Unless that's not really him. That's funny. Let's get off of that. So, is it a good draft class? Maybe. I hope so. I'm not really sure. This actually is a longer show than last year, but we'll see how the fan interaction goes. So very quickly, we're going to look at the undrafted free agents, if humanly possible. Yes, the Vikings did re-sign Carson Wentz to a 1-year deal. I think people saw that. Oh, yes, and one other major piece of news here that I was going to mention during the 3rd round. The Vikings traded away Jonathan Grenard to the Philadelphia Eagles for 2 third-round picks. This year's 3rd-round pick and next year's. The talk is that really the attractive part of the trade is next year's 3rd-round pick, that it can be an asset to be used to possibly move up or whatever you're going to do, maneuver around. next year because next year's draft is supposed to be a lot better than this one, basically, like more exciting. So there's that. Yeah. So one of the third round picks ended up being the Eagles one at the end of the day. For Jonathan Grenard, I think a lot of people were a little bit frustrated that he could have gotten more. I kind of agree with that statement. Now, Dominic Orange was our actual pick. Jacoby Thomas. So that is the one that's coming to Minnesota from Philadelphia. Ultimately, that was a Philadelphia pick right there. 34th in the third round, 98th overall. So you added that to the 97, and you may have gotten your safety in the Jonathan Grenard deal to the Philadelphia Eagles. So he's still only 28. He also inked a 4-year, $100 million contract extension with the Eagles. So good luck to Jonathan Grenard. It's kind of a bummer, actually, to say that. So let's look at the free agents here really quick. Tristan Lay, offensive line. Marcus Allen, cornerback. Marcus Allen, huh? Marcus Allen. Interesting name there. Jordan Botejo, outside linebacker. Tyreek Chappelle. Any relation to Dave? Any relation to Marcus Allen as well? Tyreek Chappelle, cornerback. Cameron Stewart, outside linebacker. Devion Armstead, cornerback after cornerback. One that a lot of people are pretty excited about, actually, and should have been a mid-round pick possibly in some people's cases. Delby Lemieux coming to the Vikings. Mario Lemieux, or at least maybe they think should have at least been a 6th-rounder. Delby Lemieux, offensive line. He can, I believe, play center as well. The Vikings got Delby Lemieux, gave him a significant amount of money apparently to be able to get him too. So he was the most expensive of the undrafted free agents. Jacob Thomas rolls right off your tongue, safety. Marcus Sanders Jr., wide receiver. I think that's a name as well. Kejon Owens, running back. Brett Thorson, punter. That's the other big name potentially here. He might actually be the Vikings punter. Coming in out of Australia, mate. Out of Melbourne, Australia, Brett Thorson. Coming to the Minnesota Vikings to be a punter. So very excited to have him on board. Thank you, Brett. Good luck making the Vikings. He's going to be a punter. I hope he's a great one. It was a big loss losing Ryan Wright, I thought, but maybe Brett Thorson is the answer to the Vikings at punter, mate. So hopefully that works out. Dylan Bell, that's a name a little bit too. I've heard that one. Wide receiver, Monkel Goodwine. Well, it's Goodwine for Monkel. Defensive line. Goodwine on the defensive line. Yeah. Thomas Remak, offensive line. Shelik Knotts, in relation to Don. I don't know, it might be his great-great-grandson. That's how old Don Knotts is by now. Shelik Knotts. Kelly Lawson, linebacker. Arden Walker, outside linebacker. Scooby-Dooby-Doo Williams, linebacker. And Luke Y. Song, wide receiver. Welcome to Minnesota, at least for the time being, and we'll see if some of these guys stick, because sometimes they do. These undrafted free agents are exciting sometimes. Sometimes you get, sometimes you wind up with, Adam Thielen. Sometimes you wind up with John Randall. Other times you wind up with someone that you don't hear about much afterwards and stuff. So we'll see. It's always exciting, these undrafted free agents, to give them a chance, and God bless them. The ones that make it, God bless you guys, man. I mean, seriously, you don't get drafted and you still make it and end up having a very successful NFL career. That'd be awesome. Provided they stay healthy. God bless them in that field. With that said, we'll take a quick break and look at fan interaction right after this. And we are back here on Purple Mafia, final segment here, fan interaction, just a little bit. I'm sure At Purple Mafia Show, at Purple Mafia Show. Dave Hickey out of Iowa saying about the preview show. Great show, Joey. Hopefully the Vikes make a good pick tonight and have a better day tomorrow. Yep, and we'll see what happens with Caleb Banks. And yep, you never know. I was saying thank you so much, Dave. That was a lot of fun to do. I'm always terrified going into drafts. Hopefully the right mindset is there and the team is on their way. So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that. It's been scary the last 3 years or so. Hopefully the Vikings, hopefully Mr. Rob Brzezinski, along with the scouts and all them, did a good job here. It's hard to say, but Caleb Banks again. If hopefully the Vikings struck gold here with him. It's as Jermaine Wiggins said years ago, coming out of Boston, Massachusetts. You never know what you're gonna get in this business. You could get gold or you could get garbage. Well, we'll see what happens. Dave Hickey out of Iowa once again looks like he is the main cog for this episode, and we appreciate that very much, Dave. He says, I know... Okay, I got to go back. Let's see what he's talking. Okay, my bad. I was saying, Vikings are on the clock, and EMW is there. It's a no-brainer pick here. Please get it done. And then Dave says, I know. I wanted him or Thieneman, and they had their shot at both of them and took a 330-pound guy with foot problems. I was so upset. They could have traded down and still picked this bench warmer. Nobody else was going to touch him until mid-second round at best. You could be right. I'm slightly more optimistic, but yeah, there are some people that are pretty annoyed with the pick. That is, it's kind of a risk. It is a risk, not kind of. It is a risk. But, what made me more upset, it's one thing to pass on Emmanuel McNeil-Warren in the first round, but we passed on him in the second round. That's what annoyed me more. You passed on him at 49 by trading down to 51, and you passed on him again. And I was like, I think he went, 58th or something to the Cleveland Browns, and I'll just keep saying congratulations to my dear friend Vince Romano out of Melbourne, Australia, mate, who may or may not be listening to this episode. Apparently he went to 2 funerals recently, so kind of tough things going on in his personal life there, so that sucks. Major condolences to Vince Romano in case he's listening. 2 funerals, jeez. I think one was the uncle, right? But there's been a little bit of death around him lately, unfortunately. I believe he lost his brother not too long ago as well. That's terrible. You think about that, that's terrible. Excuse me. I was saying, with the way this draft is going, you would think Brian Flores is the head coach. Dave Hickey responded with exactly. He might be next year if the offense struggles again in 2026. The defense is where they needed improvement, though, especially the trenches. Yep. They got 2 mountain of a man. One we'll be lucky to see to call him Bigfoot. The other is Big Citrus. Yep. So, Bigfoot, like Bigfoot, hopefully, and then Big Citrus. I do like the linebacker they took, though. Yep, and that would again be Jake Galday. Jake Galday, the linebacker. Yeah, he looks, his athleticism is insane. So that's what's extremely exciting about that guy. Kind of sounds almost like a Dwayne Rudd. Remember how athletic he was back in the day? And he was a first-round pick, don't forget. One more. Okay. I was saying Vikings are on the clock, and EMW is a no-brainer, and blah, 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 please get it done. Dave Hickey was saying, all I want out of day 3 is Kagan Wiggin. Kagan Wiggin from Iowa, a punt and kickoff specialist. I know we have Miles Price, who I like a lot, but this Iowa player is electric. You could use him in a lot of packages and totally be worth it. Mark my words. Yep, I wish we could have got him too. I forget where he went. I remember seeing the name, of course, and I don't know. Now you got me curious here. Let's see what happened with him. Kagan Wiggin. I'm probably mispronouncing his name. Oh, dang it. My apologies for the delay here. We're about to wrap things up here, but I do want to see what happened with him. I apologize. I just want to get kind of closure on where he wound up here. 2-time special teams, Iowa Athletics, NFL Draft. What happened? Where'd he go? Come on, just say something, please. The Pittsburgh Steelers got him. Okay, well, good for them, I guess. Where, though? Where? Where? Where did they get him? Come on. Oh, for heaven's sake. Be nice to actually figure out exactly where he went. And that didn't take too long to find him. Yeah, what does he looks like? 4th round. Yep, 21st pick in the 4th round, 121st overall. That's not too bad. And he was a wide receiver. Yep. Yeah, I did hear that name a lot. Caden Widgeon. Is that him? I don't even know if it's the same one. Yeah, it is. It's Iowa. Yep, it's him. I think I was looking. It's Caden Widgeon. That's what messed things up. The things were spelled differently. Yeah, and only 5'9", but has that crazy speed. Yep, usually those shorter guys are really good returners. Yep, really good returners. Yep, kind of a small. Yep, doesn't have length. He's shorter. Like Percy Harwin is a shorter guy. So yeah, he went. And I don't think the Vikings had a 4th round pick, so that figures. Yeah, no, we didn't. So Vikings didn't get him in the 3rd. We got that safety, and then didn't have a 4th round pick. Didn't make a move, and Wiggin is on the is on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he'll be wearing the same color scheme at the very least, because I know the Steelers and the Iowa Hawkeyes look very, very, very similar, at least in their general color scheme. So that black and yellow type of thing. So God bless him and wishing him the best there. And I'm sorry, Dave, that the Vikings passed on him. Yep. But you know how the draft is. You're mostly going to be disappointed, aren't you? Until hopefully you find out that, oh my God, that guy that we took here is, holy cow, he's good. Hopefully it works out that way. With that said, so hoping anybody out there listening who wants to help the show, if you can put a 5-star rating for Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it'd be greatly appreciated. I can't thank you enough for anybody that has done it or anybody that's about to do it. Can't thank you. Just want to thank you in advance and greatly appreciate it if you could do that. Hope all of you have a wonderful couple of weeks or so. We'll probably be back on the air to talk about something. Now that I'm semi-retired from the lawn service, I might be able to record a few more Purple Mafias here, keep up with things, some news and such, and maybe do some videos again too if I feel like it. I didn't do anything for the draft for the video. I just didn't, and I apologize for that. Like I said, I'm semi-retired from the lawn service, not 100% yet. Not fully retired yet, but semi-retired with that said. So wishing all of you a wonderful few weeks. Hopefully the Vikings did end up having a great draft. It's like you don't really know until you know at the end of the day with these drafts. You could look at a draft and think it's lame as heck, and it ends up being one of the best drafts we ever did. And you could look at a draft thinking we really kicked some ass, and we suck big time. We get like maybe one player who's halfway decent in the whole draft. So who knows? We're just going to have to be patient, wait and see, and hope for the best. Hopefully the Vikings did a good job here, and maybe we'll have some news on the next GM coming up. That's definitely an episode coming up. That is an episode right there. The Vikings hire a new general manager, whoever it is. With that said, take care, God bless, and we'll talk to you soon. Skol Vikings.